I was fortunate when I came to San Antonio in 1958. Frank was one of the first people I met because I was a big user of classified advertising, and he was doing that business in a big way as a very young man here in San Antonio. I watched him rise up through the ranks there to become publisher of the Light at the youngest age of any major newspaper in the country. I watched him then be picked right out of San Antonio, much to the surprise of all of us, to head up the Hearst Corporation, because we knew when he left here for New York, he didn't leave here to do anything other than quickly ascend to the head of the Hearst Corporation. I don't know of a single person in the world that would be a more significant addition to the Texas Business Hall of Fame than Frank Bennack.
One of Frank Bennack's first encounters with media was when he was recruited to host a TV show from the Bexar County Coliseum. He described himself as a poor man's Dick Clark.
Little did I realize that I'd ultimately be the head of a company that had a very large television presence, and that grounding has been meaningful.
That meaningful experience was the start of Frank Bennack's exciting career with Hearst Corporation, one of the nation's largest private companies involved in publishing, broadcasting, and cable network interests. Frank Bennack has been a part of that success since 1950, when he joined the Hearst family business, working as a classified ad salesman in San Antonio. By 1979, he was the company's CEO and leader of an industry that expanded newsprint into the technological world.
It's a fast-moving world, needless to say, and the changes that have occurred in all media since in the years that I've been in it are so dramatic that it's hard to describe in words. And you have to keep changing to stay up with that.
Well, I think he had the guts, let's put it that way, because you have to act on your instincts. You can never have enough information to make any given decision and be just assured it's going to be right. When he expanded the scope of Hearst Corporation and got off into magazines, well, they got 100 or so magazines, I guess now, television stations, I think it was very wise because he looked at the media market as a totality of various ways to reach people.
We were a magazine and newspaper publisher largely, and I knew the world was going to be electronic, and my associates and I decided the strategy has to be to diversify and to become much more electronic, and that led us first into over-the-air television, and then ultimately into the cable networks, and then onto the internet, and onto business and business databases, and a lot of things that are entirely electronic today.
The inclusion of tailored cable channels like Lifetime, A&E, and the History Channel set cable apart from network stations.
Even though I had a number of my colleagues say, I hope you know what you're doing, you know that there are tractor pulls and things like that on ESPN, who's going to want to watch that? Well, today it's an enormous powerhouse, as you know, and has huge audiences and multiple offerings. So.
Bennack's only failure? Retirement. In 2002, he stepped down after 23 years as president and CEO. It's said that 90% of the company's current profits are a result of businesses added to the Hearst portfolio during Bennack's first tenure as CEO.
But he was so essential to the success of the company, they brought him back. So what a legacy. He should be very, very proud of that.
Bennack returned to Hearst Corporation as president and CEO in 2008. Bennack also led Hearst Corporation in the acquisition of publishing companies, consumer magazines, and newspapers, including some of the nation's largest, among them the Houston Chronicle.
Well, I think newspapers are essential to the health of the nation, so I'm committed to them. We as a company are committed to them. We don't kid ourselves into believing that they're going to be the business that they once were, which is why we have all of these other assets.
His office is in New York, but he remains a proud son of Texas, a product of his ambitious start in San Antonio.
Frank was very interested in everything that went on in San Antonio, whether it was directly related to his company or not. The welfare of the community was very important to him. And I think that's the way he approaches the role he's in now. It just happens that his community is the world.
He's concerned about the pulse of the community and the role of media in our society. He serves as chairman of the board for the Paley Center for Media, an institution dedicated to discussing the significance of media.
I think you have to give back, and that's just one example of both my time and money have been spent at that place, and it's a great place, and I'm proud of it.
The things that made Frank a success were the beginnings here, I think, in this state. And I think the reason Texas is shining out above all of the states in this country, and maybe in a lot of nations, is because of the individual feeling of opportunity here.
Even though I've been out of the state for 38 years, I learned most of what I know right here. Well, I think the workforce is great. I think that there's a culture of wanting to achieve and of innovation and looking for new horizons.
Nelson Wolff had the honor of watching other new horizons take shape for Bennack.
Well, it was a beautiful wedding. It was at his Hill Country Ranch with a creek flowing behind it. Maybe a couple hundred people there, and performed the marriage ceremony for he and Mary Lake, and by gosh, it stuck.
Bennack's meaningful start at a small paper in San Antonio has led to a lifelong career that continues to grow and change and shape our world. This evening, we're proud to include Frank Bennack Jr. among the prestigious members of the Texas Business Hall of Fame.